During the independent work today, we will ask that you pick the right trig formulas to solve the problem. We will set up the equation, but we will not solve it just yet. So let me go ahead and show you how to pick the right formulas. There are different ways to mark the angle of reference. Remember, in the last lesson, the angle of reference is called angle theta. And that's the angle I'm circling with the symbol. We have different way that we call angle theta. You can see if we're looking for just a cosine of theta, we say angle cos theta equal what? And that's the question mark here. And then here's another way you can call angle theta. We are giving you the measure of the angle, and the measure is 30 degrees. So instead of angle theta or cos theta, I replace cos 30 degrees. So the theta is replaced with the measure of the angle itself. Yet another way to call angle theta, this is called cos B equal what? And cos B is the letter on the angle itself. These are different ways that you are calling an angle theta. We can call, first of all, the theta, the Greek math symbol, the angle measure itself, or the letter on the angle, angle B. Cos B is equal to what? There is also another one that I want you to be very careful, not drawn to scale. And you probably will see this on the drawing, any kind of geometry math question with figures. It said not drawn to scale. It means that we are not measuring it to the correct measure. Not drawn to scale. Let's say if it's a triangle, it may not look like a right triangle at all. It may look like an obtuse or an acute triangle, not like a right angle. Not drawn to scale. The 5 is not measured to the rulers. The 7 is not measured. The angle may look like it's not right, but it is right when we say it's a right triangle. Or when we use trigonometry formula on them, they're right triangle. Even if you forget to mark it sometime. That's the most important thing that I want to point out right here, not drawn to scale. And we go to the second page. This is the page that we are focusing on. Okay, choosing a trig tool, and we want to go ahead and start with the direction. Don't skip the small writing. So look through all the triangles first and see if any look familiar or are ones that you know how to answer right away without using a trig tool. So without using a trig tool, remember we have Pythagorean theorem, we have special right triangle. Then identify which tool to use based on where the reference angle, the given acute angle is located, and which side lengths are involved. Write and solve an equation to find the missing side lengths. So these are steps that we're following through to find the missing side length or whatever is indicated. Could be an angle, it could be a side length. Here I see it on the side, so I'm looking for a side. And the part of solving is for the next lesson. I'm going to go ahead and cross this word out just for today. We are going to forget this first step because we already covered the Pythagorean theorem and the special right triangle. Let's pretend that we cannot use any of those and we have to use the trigonometry. So choosing a trig tool is very important. We have, you will remember, SOHCAHTOA. Yeah. SOHCAHTOA, if you remember previously, we asked you to write this name down and remember it. So write to memorize was the name of the activity. Remember how to spell it, SOHCAHTOA. And the formula is going to be just like the one with the yellow triangle, and the full formula is displayed for you. I'm going to show you how to choose the right trig and set up the equation. So first we are going to assess A. And I'll pick up the laser so that we can point out a few things. On letter A, here, the first one, we are looking at 3 information pieces given to us. The number 19, the X is given to us to look for. It's not given with information, it's a variable that we're looking for. And then the 28 degree is the angle on it. We are going to ignore the 90 because they're all 90 degrees. The 28 degree is given on this acute angle, and that's the angle you want to mark theta. The angle theta is the angle you're looking from. So from this angle, you are looking for the opposite, the adjacent side, and we also have this side. What do you call this side? Hypotenuse, right? It's right opposite to this 90-degree angle, so we call this one hypotenuse. And we will use the abbreviation HYP for hypotenuse, and that's for number 19 side. What do we call this x? If you're thinking adjacent or opposite, is one of those two. We already used the hypotenuse. So adjacent is the side that make the angle, this side. Okay, which is only one of the two sides. This is also adjacent. The side that make the angle is these two sides with the laser. But the only side that doesn't make that angle is the side that we call opposite. And it is the side x. I will go ahead and label that with the word OPP for opposite side.
We're given three pieces of information. You can see we're given, first of all, the angle itself, the hypotenuse, and then the opposite side.
And we're looking at this formula, SOHCAHTOA, to see which trig tool we need to use. Which trig tool? Let's see, we have the angle and we have the side. So we're looking at the side. What side are we given? Well, we are given on here the hypotenuse. And you can see the hypotenuse is in the H here and the H here. The second piece of information will decide which one we use. Opposite side. And you see the opposite side is only given in this one and also here, but the last one doesn't have the hypotenuse, so we don't use this one. And the first one, the SOH, is the only one that we can use. So I'll go ahead and label that. Okay, we decide which formula based on the side information, the O and the H. You see the O and the H is highlighted. So this is why I'm using these formulas, and I'm going to circle these formulas. And we make red and transparent so you can see the SOH. SOH. So is where we start with the word sign of the angle, and I will go ahead and write this angle in. We will leave space for now. Opposite over hypotenuse. Why don't I write it with the big letter? And this is where I'm going to also replace the sign of the angle theta is 28 degree equal. And try to line up your equal sign. The opposite side is replaced by the letter x, and the hypotenuse side is replaced by 19. However, I would recommend writing it with x over 19 like this. And I will write with the pen so you can see it.
The angle theta is replaced by 28 degree. And the opposite side, x, we're putting it over h, which is hypotenuse, and hypotenuse is replaced by the number 19.
This is it. The equation that you will use to solve for the missing variable x is sine function. The sine is the trig tool that you are using. Sine of 28 degree, replace the angle with what we are given, the 28 degree, equal the opposite side is replaced by the letter x, and the hypotenuse side is replaced by 19. And we're done. So that's what we are asking you to do on these problems that you see. The left-hand side has clock problem set, and clock problem is preparing for the clock projects. I'm going to come back to choosing a trig tool, and we are working on the letter B. We're given these x, 8, and 45 degree. So I'm going to go ahead and label it. And I'm going to use a different color this time. Let's go ahead and use green. The angle given to me, the angle I'm looking at is 45 degree. And that's this angle. I'm going to mark it with the arc on the top. Okay, so sometimes they just marked it with the arc and the angles, and they don't have the theta in. You can just go ahead and put theta in just like that. Well, we also need to identify a few more things before we know which trig tool to use. The x is here, and what do we call this x? the side that make this angle, right? That is called adjacent. This side right here is the hypotenuse, but we don't have anything on the hypotenuse. So we're given the x adjacent side. I will go ahead and type that in. And this time, instead of using 3-letter for abbreviation, I'll go ahead and just use adjacent A equal x right there. Okay, so that's the adjacent side. Let's just use adjacent there. Because if I just use the letter A, I am worried that you will get confused with another variable. So we will label it adjacent side like that. The number 8 here is the side that doesn't make this angle. So we call this number 8 opposite side. We have adjacent side, we have opposite side, we have the angle. Let's locate the formulas we will need to solve this letter B. I am looking at, we have the letter A for adjacent, we have the letter O, and I'm looking for a formula that has these letters A and O and A. So O and H is in the sign. We don't have the exact OA, but in the last one, you see O and the letter A, green circle. So right here, the TOA, because of the letter O and the letter A, the sides in here, I'm going to go ahead and use this. And that's how we can locate the trig tool. We are given 2 sides. It starts with the letter T for tangent. You will see that this is the formulas that we're going to use. Okay, the one that I circle right there. So we start with the word tan and the theta angle, which I'm going to draw in a few. Tangent is equal to opposite divided by adjacent. And that's this formula on the top with the yellow angle. We will substitute with the information we know, tangent of, and the angle theta is 45. We're given that information. So let me go ahead and try to line up the equal sign. Okay, still look like it's lined up. Okay, it cannot be helped. It has to be a little bit over. So opposite side is substitute by the numbers given there, which is 8, and the adjacent side is x. However, instead of writing it like that, I would rather put the fraction bar just like the first one. Opposite side is the number 8, and that is on the top. Adjacent side divide by adjacent. So adjacent is replaced by the letter x. And we put x under the fraction bar. We are done. So choosing a trig tool, and the tool that you are choosing will come from SOHCAHTOA. Remember, SOHCAHTOA, you can see we can use the sign, or which is the red circle, the cosine, which is not used yet so far, and you use the cosine when you're given the adjacent and the hypotenuse side. And then the last one, the tangent, is the green circle. We have that example for you with the letter B. And so sine, cosine, tangent, you can see the formula on the top to remind you as well. This is one of the reasons why we ask you to write this name SOHCAHTOA out to memorize it. We ask you to also write the equation, set it up, and we're not solving it this time. We are just setting it up so that we can solve. Let's go ahead and have you practice on these. You will be able to check your answers. Also, try to work out these as well. The first question over here will review with you the trig table values. And then here we're just asking you to select the right trig tool. Is it sine? Is it cosine? Is it tangent? Which one would you use to solve for the missing side? Let's send you guys off with the SOHCAHTOA greeting, and we are going to have you work on these practice problems. As a reminder of what we have done today, you have developed strategy to recognize which trig ratio to use. We went through from step number 1 through step number 6, and the next lesson we will go all the way through to step 9, which trig and solve. Part 1, we start with identify parts. Part 2, which trick to use. And part 3, we're solving for the missing side or the missing angle. Let's go ahead and have you practice the problems. Post it in your Canvas class or your Jamboard. Good luck.